Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to The Spectrum on WSB Stony Brook. You just finished listening to the album What We're Missing by Grayscale. We're now joined by two of the members. How about you guys introduce yourself, tell us your role in the band, and pretty much how the band met up.
Cool. So, hello everyone. I'm Colin. I do vocals in Grayscale.
My name's Dallas. I play guitar and also do vocals in Grayscale.
We met in high school. We started playing in bands together, and then after those projects kind of fell apart, or people got older, went to college, Dallas, Nick, our drummer, and I kind of started just messing around with like a new project in my basement when we were younger, and it turned into what it is now.
Okay. So we're going to start off with some main questions, simpler type off topic from the album. So first I want to discuss your success with the new release. You've been getting lots of media attention, especially from like Alt Press and Legendary Kid Press. So I just wanted to see what's your thought process of why people are so attracted to your music right now. Not saying like, oh, these bands are bad, like we're so much better, like an ego type thing, but like what elements of your music attract people?
Right. I don't know. That's a good question. Actually, I've never. I don't think we've ever really been asked that before. I would say that I think Dallas and I lyrically try to write from like a very personal, real perspective. So I think, maybe the lyrical content and the kind of like really close to home wording of a lot of our songs, I think that makes it very relatable to people. I don't know. That's a hard question. I would just say, maybe the authenticity of our music maybe is what has made people kind of develop an interest in our stuff.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
So I read your band bio earlier, and one of the things that like stood out to me was when your bassist had like quoted that that your music is therapeutic to you as well as your fans. And today I don't like really hear bands say, like, we all know that people do music to help themselves too, but lots of bands don't say like out there saying this music is feel therapeutic to them and it helps them as well. So I wanted to see like your thought process of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I think a lot of musicians like write, kind of to express something either that like they don't get to express enough or that they don't express at all in their everyday life. And I think that for Dallas and I lyrically, again, that's like really, really like a really primary contributing factor in Grayscale. It's really is our therapy in terms of, our content that we write. It's just really coming from a very, very personal, close to home, side. And sometimes it can be really hard to write about, or it'll start like sometimes I'll just be at work or be by myself and I'll just start like rapidly just like jotting down, stuff that has been on my mind or things that I'm frustrated with or like problems or things that I've endured or went through. And from there on that is directly lifted out of, what I'm writing and use in our songs. And I know the same goes for Dallas. He and I both write a lot about kind of like the family issues we had growing up and like our exposure to like drugs, alcohol, and like kind of like the vices, that like we've been around in a way. That's yeah.
I think when we write songs too, it's like when we're writing, when we are writing these songs, it's 9 times out of 10 it's stuff that we wouldn't be able to say otherwise if it wasn't, something we were going to put towards a song. It's just sometimes things are definitely difficult to say, out to people, so we put it into a song. Then it's kind of strange how then it's going to be in front of a bunch of people that are listening to it. But I think as a whole, back to the original question, is like music is definitely our therapy as far as dealing with things that we've dealt with in the past and current.
Okay. So before we go on to the album questions, I got one more question for you. Um, Pretty much, how was the last show with Carousel Kings and Major League last Saturday?
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, it was a cool show. It was fun. It was we never played in York, Pennsylvania before. That was the first time for us, and it actually was Major League's last show.
Oh
On
yeah, weren't they breaking up or just
Yeah,
ending it?
yeah, they're breaking up at least for the time being. I think they have a tour booked in Japan, but as far as the U.S. goes, that was their last show. So we've always kind of had brief interactions with them in our
Mm.
career. Our paths never really crossed. We were always like a little too young, and a little further
Yeah.
behind than them. So it was cool to finally, you know, I've met like Brian and Matt briefly, and they're really, really great guys. And to be able to like, play a show, and especially a show of such significance, was really, really cool. And it was a really emotional show. Like you could tell, those dudes like put everything they had into it, and it was definitely a good time and like a definitely good experience that I won't forget.
So we're going to go move on to some questions about the album. We're going to start with pretty much the cover art. And for the listeners that do not know, the cover art is pretty much like canvas painting. The style is pretty much, what would you describe it? Like cartoonish a little bit? A little cartoonish.
Yeah.
2D cartoonish. And it has a couple in front of a car with the high beams on what seems to be mountain lookout at nighttime.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see what made you pick that picture as to represent your album. What we're
Cool.
missing.
Yeah. So Daniel Fishel is our artist. He's our illustrator that's done. He did our last record and the Change EP, which we released digitally, and we kind of like came around with like after the album was like pretty much done being written, and we had a title for it that we thought fit. What we're missing as the title of the album we thought was a good fit. Kind of brainstormed with Daniel regarding what we wanted to do uh, as far as artwork goes, and his illustration just he kind of threw us out some sketches, and this one like immediately we stuck to us. We were like, yeah, this is great. This perfectly like encapsulates the theme of the album because it's as you said, it's a couple kind of like embracing each other on like a like a cliff with like the city lights like low in the background, and there's like this open sky above them, and they're kind of on their own in the headlights of their car that they drove up the cliff in. And then on the other end, the car is still there, but it's on cinder blocks, and it's daytime, and the roots have kind of overgrown the car, and the couple's no longer there, and the car's windows are all like dirty or smashed or whatever. So it kind of just shows like it's kind of the thing that I like about the album art is like I don't have like a perfect explanation of like how it encapsulates
A
the
little
theme.
different for everyone.
Yeah, like I think it's kind of open to interpretation. I think that's kind of the beauty of it. Like it's a very like romantic like set of colors, and I think the contrast between the front and the back really is just like I just think it's like I said, it's really unique. Like there's not one thing I can peg to like what it means. I don't know how it like it encapsulates the lyrical content properly, but it just does. It's one of those things that I thought was really cool and unique.
I think for me, it's like with the lyrics when they're not always so straightforward either. It's very much like think what you will about it. There's not really an answer. When it comes down to a single line, or if you're looking at the artwork, you don't know like what time period each side of the album is.
Exactly.
So it's like, is the
That's
back
true.
the current or is the front the current? It's kind of open to you, to
Mhm.
interpret that yourself. That's what I thought was pretty cool
Yeah,
about the
definitely.
album artwork when we initially saw it.
Yeah. A lot of
So,
Oh, go ahead.
okay, go on.
I was gonna say a lot of the like the overall theme of the album is kind of like the different kind of stories about relationships that have like fallen apart or whatever, and either they're romantic or friendships, or kind of about like the what ifs and what could have been, the things that you kind of like think about, like how could it have been different. And I think like Dallas said, you don't know the couple on the front if the front is the current or the back. A lot of the songs are negative, and it's like for me, it's like the front is kind of showing like this person that's in your life, and you're having these incredible moments with them, and then on their back, like suddenly they disappear, and it's like it's as if it never would have happened. Like there's
Mm.
this beautiful city light, portrait in the front, and the back is just this smashed up car, on cinder blocks, and it's not beautiful to anyone. But like you would never know what was there, um,
Mm.
unless you witnessed it. So yeah, it's really just up to interpretation. But that's kind of how it comes off to me.
So since we're on the topic of themes, I want to ask, what are some like smaller ones throughout the album that you want your audience to pretty much absorb and like put into their own lives?
Right. Well, larger ones, as I briefly touched on in the last question, it's kind of about what you think about, like when like it's the what ifs, what could have beens of life, like what you think about how something could have been different and what you could have done to change it. Like it's that kind of like that's the large general theme is how life could have been different if something happened, and is it better or worse? And I think like something I like to gather from it, although the lyrics may not seem like it, depending on what you take from it. To me, the things that leave your life are the things that you miss out on, or the things that you think you missed out on, or the
Mm.
things you wonder like if you could have made a difference, or if it should have been different, or you don't know, or you're unsure about. Those things are the things that everything happened like for a reason. So if you're upset about it, it's you've bettered as a person from it, and it was in your life for a reason.
I kind of interpret it as like live the now and pretty much don't worry what's going to happen, what could happen, just worry about the present.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that's definitely definitely like one of the themes that can be taken from it. I think it's cool that it's different for you than it is like for me or someone else. But I
Mm.
think it's kind of like we said, it's very open. So it's cool that you gather that. In terms of small things, like smaller topics, a lot of it has to do with um, there's like touches of like suicide. There's touches of drugs, and mental illness. There's touches of just like like problems between,
Family issues.
yeah, like a spouse, a brother, a sister, a mom, and dad. Friendships falling apart. So like the opening track is kind of about just your own reflection of your own mental, how you feel like you're missing out on things, or how things feel like they're passing you by, and you're upset with someone because it feels like they took it away from you, type of thing. So I think there's a lot of smaller themes, but they all contribute to that overall one that we touched on a moment ago.
Before I move on to more song specific questions, well, I guess it will be song specific. But what are some like your favorite like lyrics throughout the album? Like the ones that mean the most to you.
There you go.
Yeah. Colin and I joint, I guess, definitely wrote Irish Curtains together more so than some of the other ones. Generally, we're always like writing in different rooms and different times. We're just very good at like we've lived such parallel lives at this point that pretty much anything we write down, I've either experienced already or Colin knows what I'm talking about when I'm writing. So we can definitely vibe with one another as far as that's concerned. Irish Curtains is definitely a difficult one for us to talk about and don't really want to talk about the subject matter, but as a song, that's like the one that I'm most proud of.
Mm.
And just because of how difficult it was to write it, let alone like get in the studio and get in front of the microphone and do it. So I mean that is probably my favorite song as a whole. I don't really know if I have like favorite lines or anything like that, but as far as lyrical content goes, that's definitely my favorite one.
For me, August Love was my favorite lyrical song on the record, because the song reflects a relationship from start to finish, like beginning to end, because starting off positively and ending negatively. That's kind of, I think we accomplished that well with the lyrical content of the song.
Okay, so I want to ask some questions about palette. Actually, since we're on the topic of Irish Curtains, um, let's. I want to, well, because I guess because you guys said it was really deep, so I don't want to get into it now. But pretty much the production wise of it, why did you choose to start it out as like a really light song, then end it with this like heavy type vocals and like change it up instead of like light throughout?
I think this song just kind of like called for it. Like it just felt right. I think there's like it wasn't kind of planned from the beginning. I think we wrote it out, and then it just was like it's a very like tense song throughout. And I think at the end it was like the only way to kind of relieve the listener, kind of feel relief musically was just to like scream it, and that's kind of like the song's kind of being about like frustrated and fed up with someone and upset about someone, but feeling like helpless, not being able to help them. And so the ending is just kind of like the climax of your like feelings, if you will.
So another song I wanted to talk about was Palette. Hopefully I say that right.
It's actually Palette.
Oh, okay, Palette.
Yeah.
So one of the lines that caught my attention was quote unquote, I'm still listening to our Menzinger's record, except song 5 off it. So, like myself, I like go on Spotify, I type the band's name in, I just check like each song 5 on each of their albums to see which song would pretty much what you're talking about and reflecting upon. So the first song that I thought, Ava House. So I'm not sure, was that the song you were alluding to, or was it a different one?
That was the song.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that as well.
It's kind of
we'll just leave it at that.
It's a secret as to why.
Oh, okay. Because I was listening to it, and I saw like the different like lyrics throughout it, and I saw that you took like different lyrical elements throughout that song, like the blinding light, but like the dancing. Well, the dancing is not in this song. In
Say something.
Say something. Thank you. And you got the knife imagery. So I thought it was like really interesting how you took that song and kind of like incorporated like different parts of in the album as like an Easter egg type thing.
Definitely another one of those things we like to leave, open to interpretation.
Yeah, for sure.
My last question for the album is, what was different production wise than your last 2 EPs?
Well, so the Change EP and What We're Missing, Gary Chofi produced those 2 records. So the Change EP is kind of the predecessor to What We're Missing and has a lot of the same songs. So as far as that goes, that was a different producer, because before that, on Leaving, which was like the first album that we wrote as a band, we didn't have Gary working on it. So working with Gary and PJ, who's the bassist of Transit, was also an assistant engineer on that record, on What We're Missing. And he worked on some of the Change EP stuff. Or actually, no, he just worked on What We're Missing, but he was around during that time. That's kind of when we met him and kind of when he decided to come in and help us with What We're Missing. So as a production standpoint, it was a completely different team working on the Change EP and What We're Missing.
Now, like with the production and what you did for this album sound-wise, do you feel like you're going to continue with that, what you have now, or are you just going to keep experimenting what, different, like, variations of, like, pop-punk or different, like, rock influences, I guess?
I think it definitely could be anything. Like, I think we're one of those bands where, like, if we wrote a record, like, if a record comes out from us, like, it could be, I don't want to say like a totally different style of music, because I think we're going to stick to like the alternative, rock type of theme, but it could be softer, it could be heavier. I think, we really like to express and write what feels right and not try to force anything. So I think really we don't know at this point. It could be anything. It's just kind of what feels right at the time when we write.
So that does about it with the album questions. I'm just going to end it by just having you give the audience where they can find like your music online or where they can talk to you social media wise and keep up to date.
Cool. So our website is just grayscaleband.com, and that has links to everything, to our store, from merch to all of our social media, all that kind of stuff. All of our videos you can see from there. Our email is grayscalepa@gmail. Our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook user IDs are Grayscale PA as well. So everything's Grayscale PA, and then our website's grayscaleband.com. And through all of those outlets, you can find where to get the music. It's available on iTunes. You can stream it on
Spotify and Pandora.
all those streaming services you can do. Bandcamp. You can buy physical from us, buy physical from the label Anchor 84, which is just anchor84.com. Yeah, it's pretty much everything.
All right. Thanks, guys, for talking and giving us your point of views on different things. That does about it. If you're ever in the Long Island area, love to have you like live on air. Maybe play something acoustic. I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned, everyone. We're going to listen to a local Long Island pop punk playlist, and we're going to move on to some metalcore. Bye, guys.
See you, man.
See you, man. Thanks for having us.